And on to the latest on the Ebola cases in the Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda that have surpassed 600 mark. In fact, this is according to the Africa Centers for Diseases Control and Prevention. The cases have been rising even as response efforts face operational constraints. The death toll has climbed to 102 as of Monday as per officials. The Africa CDC has noted that health facilities in several affected areas are in poor condition and often lack potable water and personal protective equipment as well as decontamination supplies. The agency said insecurity, a shortage of ambulances and even growing staffing pressures with some health workers unpaid or without incentives and poor roads are further slowing access and response operations. It has also expressed concerns over the negative impacts of travel restrictions imposed on affected and at-risk African countries despite guidance from the World Health Organization and the Africa CDC. The United States, which is preparing to welcome a wave of World Cup visitors, urged other nations to boost efforts to halt the spread of Ebola, including through travel restrictions. President Donald Trump's administration has vowed to make every possible effort to block the virus from entering the country. The U.S. has banned non-Americans who have been in DRC, Uganda or South Sudan in the previous 21 days from visiting the country. In fact, it has even set up an Ebola treatment center in Kenya for American citizens. That very project has prompted mass protests in Kenya, with police having to disperse demonstrators near a military air base, and that is the same location where the U.S. plans to build an Ebola quarantine center. The protests come amid opposition to the very idea of bringing potential carriers into the country. One person was even shot dead on Tuesday in clashes with police. 2 people were killed in protests last week in Nanyuki, where frustration has only been mounting as Kenyan and US authorities have publicly reaffirmed their commitment to the plan. Last month, US officials even said that Washington intends to send Americans exposed to Ebola while abroad to a new facility in Kenya rather than flying them back home. A Kenyan court later suspended construction of that facility, with the petitioners having cited concerns about Kenya's fragile health system and the lack of transparency surrounding the bilateral deal. And getting us more details on the rising number of Ebola cases in Uganda and DRC is our correspondent Louisa Olani, who sent us this report from Lagos.
Protests turned deadly again in Nanyuki, Kenya, as residents clashed with police over the U.S. Ebola quarantine center. One major protester was shot dead on Tuesday, bringing the death toll to at least 3 in recent days. Locals remain deeply fearful that the 50-bed facility will offload Ebola risk from DRC and Uganda onto their community, despite a court suspension and little public consultation. Tensions are still high as U.S. flights continue delivering staff and equipment. From Lagos, Nigeria, Louisa Olani, WION The World is One.